Welcome, folks, to episode 52 of That Reminds Me Of. Today we're talking about Last Night in Soho, directed by Edgar, what's his name?
Wright.
Edgar Wright, and starring Thomasin, McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Diana Rigg, Terence Stamp, and a whole lot of others. It's a lovely thing. How are you, Baron?
I'm great, Doc. I'm great. And for those people out there watching this or listening to this is the show where we watch a show or a film or a TV show or whatever it is. We talk about it, and when we talk about the things that we were reminded of while we were watching that show, there's plenty of spoilers, but stick with us.
And we're here for the second time in our beautiful new studio with the maestro in the background, Salvatore. Hey, Sal. And we're loving it. We had a little bit of mic problem, so we've got our backup mic here. But other than that, I think we're good to go.
Good to go. So we've got these great new mics which aren't working yet, but next time they will be. So we're backing up with the old mic, but this is a future project for next time.
You want to have room for improvement.
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of improvement, is that a segue? Probably a bad one. What's been happening in your life? Before you answer, I think I know there's been Evie, one of your films, the Aussie dinosaur film, has been going great guns. Just tell me about what's happened since the last episode.
Yeah. I think we've had an update on Evie every episode for a little while because it's just had a good run, I think.
Yeah.
But the latest Cambridge Short Film Festival in the UK, it'll be playing there. We've won our third film Best Film Festival Award, which is great. And we've been nominated for a WA Screen Award in Western Australia, which is where the film was made. So, and that was for Best Set Direction, Makeup Effects, and Costume Design. So good people that worked on that part of the film are being recognised, which is awesome.
That's the heartfelt one. With all the other success, that's the one that gets you here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. So it's been good. It's been good. And
well deserved.
Thanks, Doc. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I'm continuing my commitment to talk about what I'm reading.
Oh, good.
So I have been rereading. Do you remember we talked about Bly Manor?
Mm-hmm.
And how that's based on The Turn of the Screw?
Yes, yep.
I hadn't read The Turn of the Screw then, but I read it immediately after, and now I'm rereading it.
You've read it after we did that episode, and you're reading it again.
I'm rereading it.
Why is that?
I'm actually re-listening to it. So I'm listening to the audiobook version, narrated by Emma Thomasin.
Ooh, that's good.
But I'm doing it the original, to try and mimic the original serialized form.
Yeah.
So it was released, you might get a few chapters one week and then a few chapters the next, and there'd be cliffhangers and you'd have to wait to see what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to relive that experience.
That's great.
So, yeah, and I only read it like less than a year ago, but I'm rereading it just for fun.
Wow. And Emma Thomasin, that'd be a good performance. Has to be great.
She's wonderful. When it's in audio only, I think you really focus on the talent and just the way she articulates.
Oh, that's great. I've actually been broadening my listening / reading as well. I don't know if I told you that I was making my way through the Bible, which is 95 hours long. So I've been doing that, which is a weird thing that I just thought I would have a crack at because, the Bible's one of these giant things in the world, right?
Yeah.
And whoever listens to the Bible or reads it that much, unless you're a Christian and you're doing it every Sunday, which I'm not. So I just thought I'd give it a crack, and it's hard slog. I gotta say.
Where are you up to? Because I've gone on the same journey, and I stopped at where was it? When they start to talk about all the rules and all this sort of stuff, it stops being a story and starts being like a bit of Scott Morrison policy.
Yeah. Yes, and the thing that kills me is that they love getting into the lists of who begat who, right?
Yeah.
And you think you're done. And they go off into a lovely little story that, has some morals in there that you can kind of pick up on. And then they go back to the lineage thing. And it keeps happening. It's very frustrating because nobody wants to hear that. It must have been super important at some point to draw that line from Adam. And I don't know how they came about this, but from Adam to whoever, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, don't think you've got as far as I have actually. So
Yeah.
you've got good times
I've got
to
ages
come.
to go. Yeah, I know I've got ages to go.
But I reckon, yeah, you've probably got a few speed humps, but I think it gets better.
Yeah.
There's some good stories in there.
Yeah.
I recently bought a Bible, a new Bible. This is not what the show's meant to be about.
No.
That has it kind of in the, not the original, but some old school type.
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of looks like I'm never going to read it.
It's kind of a poser's Bible. Like, you can look through it every now and again and flick through it, put on the coffee table. People go, oh, that's a nice Bible.
It's a look-through Bible.
It's a look-through Bible.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anyway, from Bibles to I don't think there's anything biblical about this movie.
No, it's definitely off the theme of what this movie's all about. That's for sure.
But this movie's Last Night in Soho,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we were both fairly excited to watch this. It really ticked a few boxes.
Yes.
In theory.
Yeah. Well, one of them, Edgar Wright.
Mm.
Edgar Wright's a great director, and I have enjoyed, I think, everything that he's made that I've seen, which I think I've seen almost all of it. All of his catalog, I think so. He's a fantastic director. His work is full of style and flair. It's always technically amazing, and he's usually pulling off some crazy music to visual thing. There's always loads of style jammed in there. It's not just straight storytelling at all. So that was a big one for me. Like, I just had to see it for that alone.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Baby Driver, and I know that had sort of mixed reception, but I thought it was great. And then also it ticks the genre box as well. Just at a glance, it looks like a horror film or a psychological thriller at the least.
Genre's a good word to throw in, because it's a little bit genre bending, genre twisting, or perhaps just halfway through genre switching.
Yep.
But no, I love him too. I've never, been a Edgar Wright fanboy or anything, but just looking at his catalog, I haven't seen them all. But like, do they call it the Cornetto trilogy or some such? I think there's some word for that.
Really?
That Shaun of the Dead, the Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Movies, but
I'm not aware of the Cornetto trilogy.
I've heard that reference somewhere,
Yeah.
so I'm either going to sound great or sound like an idiot.
Yeah, great. That's what we do here.
That is what we do here. But yes, style, pace, energy.
Yep.
I think he's renowned for that, for just keeping you in there, and humor.
Yep.
Humor and narrative drive and all this stuff. He's great. And then you see all the sort of the sexy sort of style that is promised in this film.
Yeah.
And you get a bit excited about it all.
You know what? You just mentioned sexy style, and thinking about the trailer and what that promises.
I hadn't seen the trailer, but keep
really?
going.
Well, it just reminded me of one of our very first episodes just now when you mentioned it during MIF.
Okay.
Do you know where I'm
sexy
going?
style.
Sexy style.
And is it one that disappointed?
Very much so. Yeah, it was hugely disappointing, but it had this great trailer, and we both went, we have to see that.
It was She Dies Tomorrow. No,
but that was
That was
one as
another
well.
one.
It was Blue Orchid.
Blue Orchid. Yeah.
Remember, it had this really sexy trailer, and we both were like, sexy trailer.
Sexy trailer. We're suckers for sexy trailers.
Let's do it. It had like psychedelic lights, like blue and pink and stuff, a little bit like this one.
Whoa.
Yeah. Scantily clad women.
Yeah. Sucker.
Dangerous, like a man out of his depths in
Love
some
it.
sort of dangerous, I don't know, eyes wide shut scenario.
Yeah.
We were drawn in.
You sort of think you're unique with that sort of drawing, but I think we're two of many. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
so it drew us in. I'm going to go straight into synopsis.
Please do. And while you're doing that, I just wanted to say, like, there actually are a lot of music videos in here from Edgar Wright that I didn't really know about. But the main films before Last Night in Soho, Baby Driver, The World's End. I didn't love The World's End, but, it's in there. Scott Pilgrim versus the World was great. I never saw Don't, but that's just 2 minutes long, so that's probably why. Hot Fuzz, amazing. And then you go into Shaun of the Dead and a bunch of other shorts, and the TV show Spaced, which was a classic.
Spaced, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we also mentioned Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
probably to do with something like Bad Boys for Life. Is that
Yeah,
right? Or
yeah, that's right.
we
It
did
was
a
it was to
series
do
of-
with the sort of jumping through the air and shooting and
That's
like
right.
the Point Break stuff that's in Hot Fuzz and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bad Boys never lived up to Hot Fuzz.
Right.
Anyway,
Controversial, but
controversial.
yeah.
So a synopsis that we'll steal off the internet. So last night in Soho, that's the
Yep.
film. An aspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. However, the glamour is... You're messing up my rhythm.
Sorry.
However,
I just love an IMDb synopsis. Go on.
However, the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something far darker.
Mm.
Don't you love it how there's such variation in these write-ups? Like, it's either gives you this happened, then this happened, then this happened,
Yeah.
or it gives you this vague thing that doesn't really tell
Yeah.
you anything at all.
Yeah. A young fashion designer has a bad time.
Yes. An ambiguously bad time.
Yes. An ambiguously bad time. Ooh, what could that be?
Oh, yeah.
This one has like
Sounds
splintered
sexy.
and shattered and yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
that's cool.
Mm. All right. Well, I don't think we need to pass judgment on this this synopsis. That's fine.
Can I confess?
Yeah.
We're talking Bible and stuff, so I'll just go to confession.
Please confess.
So I watched this film.
And I'm drinking Blasphemy by
Wow, okay.
Sinale, so there you go.
I'm drinking my
Bible
usual.
related drinks.
Okay. I watched this film about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
I preloaded on vodka Red Bulls, so I was half cut when I got to the cinema.
Great.
Went to Palace Cinema Pentridge, who I'm sure one day will be a sponsor of this, this podcast. One day will be a sponsor of this podcast. And obviously got a full wine, an epic or double feature, or whatever they call it,
Yep.
and a popcorn.
Yep.
Halfway through,
Obviously.
needed to have a bathroom break,
Yeah.
and went out and got another wine and popcorn.
Wow.
And I was smashed. And I got home
Yeah.
somehow.
This does not sound like you at all.
I forgot the whole film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
forgot
okay.
the whole film, and I've been worried about it ever since.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
saw it again last night, so I've seen it twice, and I was sober last night.
And
So
okay, wow. Well, I'm really curious now about what a second viewing, when the first one is, pretty smashed, and then the second one is, were you totally sober the second time around?
totally sober. So
Wow.
I've had a good viewing of it now.
Okay.
But it's that might as well have been my first.
Mm, interesting.
Hmm.
Well, you know what? I can understand that because there are lots of twists and turns and ins and outs in this film, and if you're not paying attention, it would be very confusing.
Hmm.
Or if you're not able to pay attention, it would be very confusing, I think. Definitely.
So start this off.
Yeah.
What did you think?
So I really, really enjoyed this film. I would say I enjoyed it right up until a certain point in the last act. A lot. I was with it all the way. And then at a certain point in that last act, it started to get very messy, I thought.
Mm.
I think it's the type of film that it is that is the reason why it went down that path. Because it's got that whole psychological horror thing, and there's so much style and there's so much going on, it just had to at some point kind of unravel a little bit. And I think Edgar Wright did his absolute best to then pull it all back together at the end, but I never quite got back to exactly where what I was enjoying about it for like the first 80% of the film.
Yeah, I'd have a similar response. I don't think you can put it down to just the type of film. Like I think there's no need for it to have unraveled.
Yes, that's true. No, you're right. You're right.
And I'll perhaps have something to say about that in the reminds me of. 'Cause I think there's another film that I can compare it to.
Yeah.
That I think has a similar objective that takes a different direction and does it better.
I also have a film to reference like that.
It might be the same one. It
That would
probably
be
is.
amazing if it is the same one.
I think it's bound to be, actually.
Okay, we'll see. But every time we say that, it's usually not.
Isn't it?
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, let's talk about some of the things that we enjoyed then, because I think you're saying you enjoyed at least the first good chunk of it, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say, just to put my cards on the table, when you consider everything about it,
Yeah.
I still really, really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I respected the director beforehand, and I still love his work.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a failure as far as, oh my goodness, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I think it's still a success. So
Mhm.
any negatives, are just it's just some commentary, but I'll still see his next film, and I enjoyed this. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, I think the opening scene had quite a good impact on me. I really enjoyed seeing Thomasin McKenzie,
Mm.
who I don't think you remembered, but she starred in Jojo Rabbit
Yeah.
as the Jewish girl hiding under the stairs or
The
whatever.
sister, right?
Yeah,
She was
the
the
one
sister.
pretending to be the
pretend to be the
sister.
sister. Yeah.
And I think we were equally enamored with her
Yes.
at
She
the
was
time.
great.
And
Great in that film. And
I've-
she's great in this film as well.
she's really great.
Yeah.
I've since seen her in Old, in Nights.
I haven't seen Old. Okay.
It's really good. We could
Yeah.
almost do an episode on Old.
Yeah, that's been on my list for a while. And I think the only thing that stopped me from watching it a few times is that it has these really mixed ratings. And so I've a couple times gone to put it on and gone, maybe not tonight, So, all right, I have to see it.
I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah.
The mixed ratings are probably reasonable for it to be mixed.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to predict if you'll love it or hate it,
Hmm.
but it's an interesting concept and an
Yeah.
interesting watch.
So that's actually related to this film. And I think what you were just saying about Edgar Wright and thinking that he's done something pretty interesting with this film, and you still respect him and it's great. I feel the same way. And one of the things I think that is great about this film and directors like Edgar Wright is that it's a swing for the park, you know what I mean? Or out of the park, or whatever that saying is. It's like he's having a swing. I just don't think there's anything better than that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's better than nailing it in some respects. You know what I mean? He's having a go. And you don't see films like this come along very often, or at least you don't see them of this quality come along very often. And I think it's really just interesting filmmaking, So I would rather see this than something that's safe and a bit bland any day.
That is so well said, because I think of all the things that annoyed me about it towards the latter end, and yet how is it that all those things exist, and yet I still left the theatre with a warm, fuzzy feeling, thinking I love what this guy's having a crack at.
Yeah.
He's had a swing, and you got to respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. But yeah, I think the opening was great. I love seeing Thomasin, like she entered with a bang, doing all this dancing, and I think it was a really evocative portrayal of her character, this young chick who's at that cusp between childhood and adulthood. You get her vibe of wanting to be a designer and her dreams, and she's tough.
Yep.
I thought it was a really good opening. Did you?
It's a great opening. And if you go back to Baby Driver, which is one of the previous films by Edgar Wright, his protagonist in that film has a similar opening. And I think it's a little signature of his now, but it does make you love that person, that protagonist. And that's kind of one of the big save the cat style tick boxes, right? Is how do you get your audience to love this protagonist right up front, like right at the beginning? And the way he does it is he gets them to sing and dance into the film, and he gets them to do it with such style that you're just like, oh, this person's cool. Like, I just want to see what they've got to say, what they're going to do next,
Yeah, you love her, don't you?
You love her straight away.
Straight away.
Yeah. And you kind of know who she is as well from it, which is the same thing with the guy in Baby Driver. You get a real sense of his style and who he is right off the get-go.
That's good filmmaking and good acting. I was struck by her performance there, because she's not a child. I think she's 21 or something. So she's not a youngster, but she hasn't got many big films in her catalogue yet. Yeah. And here she was at the centre of it right at the start and held our gaze beautifully. And she was so reminiscent of Audrey Hepburn was in the, on the posters and stuff.
Yeah.
She really had that vibe about her.
Yep. I mean, the whole thing is sort of a hark back to the 60s, isn't it, really? 60s or 70s? 60s.
Oh, it's the 60s. And
60s, yeah.
We may talk about soundtrack.
Yeah.
But I think the song was The Searchers. What was the song? Don't Throw Your Love Away.
Yeah.
I love that song. The Searchers are like one of the Mersey beat bands from Liverpool in the 60s that came through with the Beatles,
Awesome.
Jerry and the Pacemakers and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm losing you on 60s music. But that's my lane.
My eyes are glazing over. Can you tell now?
Yeah, I could. That's my lane. So it really, that brought me in.
Yeah.
But speaking of music, one thing that thrilled me, but also in hindsight didn't thrill me, was when the record player, she knocked it and the needle kept going and it went, the record stopped. Sort of. It felt as though that was a trigger point for the end of space time or something. Something had changed.
Yeah.
And I had high hopes that maybe that was a momentous moment in the film that we would look back on and think that's great, but it didn't.
But no,
it didn't really eventuate.
I mean, the record player is a theme throughout the whole, and the records are a theme throughout the whole film. But that particular moment's sort of just a kind of a style thing. It's not really, doesn't really inform the story. So I think we've talked about how great she is. The other actress, you got a name there? Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, she's great too. You know, I know her from a bunch of horror films. She's got horror chops as an actress, and it was nice to see her in this. And I just thought she was great. You know, really good job. And the two of them, those two women, sort of as alter egos or sort of, you know, reflections of each other, was a really cool idea.
Hasn't she got
great casting?
Just presence.
Yeah, big time.
And I think I first saw her in The Witch, and that'd be one of the horror films you're thinking about.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I think so. The Witch, and there's been a couple, but yeah, The Witch is probably the big one. Yeah.
She was great in that, and also The Queen's Gambit more recently.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, which has really launched her.
Yeah,
for sure. And so, talking about reflections.
Yes,
that's a huge theme in this. And it's handled beautifully. I mean, all of the sequences where Eloise starts having these dreams.
Eloise being Thomasin McKenzie,
the main character. And next thing you know, she's sort of in the 60s running through the streets of London and into bars and nightclubs, and every reflective surface is either her or it's the other girl who's her sort of alter ego.
Yeah.
It's handled so beautifully. What's the character name of the other girl?
Sandy.
So it's Eloise
Alexandra.
And Alexandra.
And she plays on Alexandra, whether it's Alex or Sandy or
that's right.
Or Alexi or whatever all these different versions are. I think that phase of the film, so you've got almost the first act where it's the coming of age and, you know, going into the big city and the roommates with the mean girl roommates who are fairly forgettable, but and then she gets a room of her own and she loves it. And then, of course, there's the entry into that 1960s world. That whole phase of the film is just splendid.
Yeah,
it's just really, really beautiful. And I think that I loved it so much that it stayed with me till the end, even though some other things disappointed me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things Sal and I were talking about earlier today, we were talking about the film, even though we're not meant to be until we're in the episode, but we were just talking about the pace of it, this thing. And the pacing is just, it's incredible. Like it doesn't let up from the beginning to the end. And it does it in such a way that even though you're watching a mystery unravel and there's a lot of layers to this thing, you're just never bored because the pace is it's always moving. It's always moving. There's always new things being revealed. The music's always pumping. You know, she's always running from one place to the next. It's just so well edited and so well handled and put together.
Yeah.
It's a technical feat, really.
That's interesting, yeah, because that covers a lot of flaws as well. And I think we can look back at the tape. I reckon I mentioned pacing with regard to his earlier films before.
Yeah.
You do start the journey and get taken down the river, you know, without having to try, and you just get this beautiful journey without having to do too much thought or anything. You just get taken along. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. It's one of the things he does really well. And it really it made me think of Danny Boyle, who's one of my other really favorite
I know you love Danny Boyle.
Yeah. Danny Boyle and probably Luc Besson a little bit as well. You know, both of them have this real handle on pacing, music that goes along with the vision that you're seeing, and they're not. It's not just a backing track. It's like intertwined so perfectly, and it basically the music helps the edit along in such a way and informs it almost. I think it's kind of cool. It's a cool style.
And that's excellent, accessible filmmaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can compare it against some sort of arty stuff and say, I like the arty stuff better. But if you can make something that gets a bit of that feeling in there and is also accessible to people, I think that's a great feat.
Absolutely. So he's definitely one of my favorites. In fact, I was looking at my list of films that I made a little while ago. I made a little list of films and I wrote them on the wall there. Things that I want to watch again, just films that have influenced me over the years. And after I saw this, I was thinking about how great he is as a stylistic director, and how much I love directors that really have a style, and you can sense that they're behind the camera to a degree. And I went and I started thinking about my list on the wall there, and realized that actually there are very few American directors on there, and that almost all of them are from other parts of the world, and that there's a real sense of they've grown up watching Hollywood films, and then they've filtered it through their own culture and their own sort of style and upbringing, and they've come at it to sort of bring you something that feels like it's part of the Hollywood system to a degree, but it's got this new fresh take on it. And he's one of these guys that does that,
Yeah, that's great. They're aware of it all,
but
in a slightly self-conscious way.
Yes.
Yeah, so they can play with it and do different things with it rather than thinking it's the only way you can make a film.
Yeah, none of these guys are making sort of Hollywood films that just feel like they've come straight out of Hollywood. They've got that influence, but they've been twisted.
Yeah,
it's great.
Beautiful. So there were more actors in this that are relevant to talk about. There was Terence Stamp.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big name in there. Good performance, but the character was fairly forgettable. It was like a red herring.
I agree. He was a red herring. He was a classic red herring.
He was a classic red herring, and maybe that's great.
Yeah.
He was meant to be a red herring, and he played that herring.
He played it
beautifully.
Perfectly. Yeah. I think it worked well. I think it was good casting for this one. But you're right. It's not a standout role for him.
I was quite impressed with Michael Ajayo. I can't pronounce his name. Like, even this is a British film, and I'm still stuffing up the names.
Brilliant.
I thought he looked like a de-aged Don Cheadle.
Oh yeah. Can
you see it?
Yep, I can see it.
But I thought he was really, really cool, and he was such a nice. It's so nice to have nice characters in films, and I engaged with him from the get-go.
Yeah,
and he was just a solid, safe foundation for both Eloise and us as an audience.
Did you know though?
Oh, you're not going to shatter my dreams.
No. But But just by how nice he was, and the fact that he was getting himself tangled in with this woman who was clearly going off the rails.
Bad move.
You knew he was going to get hurt, right? I mean, I could see it coming. I was like, this guy, he's got it. He's going to be the one that we feel bad for at the end of this, because something horrible is going to happen to him.
But he stuck with her. Like I just really liked him.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think so genre film, some of these casting choices, like Terence Stamp and him, you sort of they play into a cliche or a trope of the genre, and that's fine. It's okay. In fact, it's enjoyable because there's so much else being twisted in this thing. I think it was good.
So when you're talking tropes, I guess you're talking about the Terence Stamp red herring.
Yes.
And then the affable, reliable person that's always there to rescue the damsel in distress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Who's just a nice guy, and he's going to get pulled into this world of women gone crazy because of psychological something or others.
Well, it was a nice juxtaposition, wasn't it? Because there was when you see her entering London as this person that we said we love.
Yeah.
Within a few minutes, we love her.
Yeah.
And then she enters the mean streets of London, and there's all this threat around, and the whole movie has a subtext of how bad blokes are and how bad they were in the 60s. They were even worse in the 60s.
Yes.
And so,
not accountable at all.
No, not accountable.
There was no consequence culture in the 60s.
No, that's a whole other conversation. But that
Yeah.
came through and was quite a. This is a tangent, but that was quite a profound, not realization, but reminder, perhaps, that we think of the swinging 60s and how awesome they were.
Yeah.
But there's a bad side, a dark side.
Turns out they were quite rapey as well.
They're quite rapey.
Yeah.
But I liked how it presented that,
Yeah.
and it also presented this nice bloke.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a man-bashing thing, but it was also presenting the reality.
Yeah, good call. Yes, yeah. And there are enough complicated male characters in the film to achieve that, which is great. Because it could have gone another way. It could have, like you say, it could have painted the men as all a bit sort of sleazy, and it doesn't do that. It gives you male characters to like. And actually, the red herring turns out to be a guy who was trying to help everyone along the whole time, So
that twist wasn't that bad.
No, I thought it was good. I actually liked it because as well as Terrence Stamp, you have the younger guy who's who's the young version of him, who looks like he should be a serial killer. He's just got it all over his face. He's a great match for Terrence Stamp, and he then turns out to be a cop who you totally understand is a little bit jaded about his role.
Cool. So you got the dance sequence firstly.
Yeah.
Where the editing was just immaculate, where Doctor Who is dancing with both the witch and Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's just cut as if it's, as if he's doing it all in real time.
Yeah, it's great.
In actuality, he's probably performing the same thing twice. I don't know how it's done.
And they're doing like camera wipes and with his body and other bodies and
who knows?
Yeah, very clever.
Marvelous feat. They could have stopped there and they would have had me.
Yes.
And everything's happy-go-lucky at that point. It's a fantasy world for Eloise Thomasin at that point. I think it's the second time she goes into that world, and it's clear that she's being sort of sold off to the blokes by Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And there's this wonderful sequence where they use the lines. What is it?
What's your name, love?
What's your name, love?
Yeah.
And she says different names. She says, that's a lovely name.
Yeah. And it's always a play on Alexandra, which becomes part of the story later on. A nice reveal later on.
It's kind of warming us to the fact that her name is Alexandra, really.
Yeah.
And there's different variations of that. But I thought that was a really great sequence of storytelling. We talk about pacing. In very short time, we went from a fantasy to almost a nightmare.
Yes.
And that was great. What did you think?
It's a great call. And it does play on that wonderful idea that a dream or a fantasy can become a nightmare just with the slight twist of whatever it is, just a slight little twist and suddenly that thing's not fun anymore,
Slight turn of the screw.
Slight turn of the screw. That's what it is. That's what it is. Turn the screw ever so slightly. It ain't fun anymore. And you really get the sense of that through that sequence. He handles that beautifully. And I think you're always a little suspicious of a wonderful situation. Like if it's a little too good, you're suspicious. You're watching it going, oh, this is an awesome thing that's happening to this lady. It looks like it's all just falling in place. Oh, okay, I see. It's actually, she's been taken advantage of. It's horrible.
But in a psychological horror, that feeling of unreality and everything's too good to be true is something that, it gets you pumped up because you know there's some cutting disappointment coming.
Yeah.
But that feeling when everything's still good, it makes you feel like everything cool is still to come.
Yeah. So I think for anyone who's watching this and hasn't seen the film, we've been told that she has some paranormal psycho
Carrie-like
some powers of some sort to see dead people, and also that her mum had a nervous break at some point. So we've been set up with all these things. Then you get the dreams, and she sees this other girl who was in the room that she was living in, and every time she puts the 60s music on, it takes her there, or every time she goes to bed at night, it takes her there. And it starts off as like a fantasy, as you're saying, but it very, very quickly becomes a nightmare, and a nightmare that she can't escape. It starts to follow her choice of being able to go to that world goes away. And next thing you know, she can't distinguish between reality and that other world. And the way he handles that arc of that storyline is so beautiful. It's done so well. I think that's maybe why you and I are both responding to the fact that it's got this wonderful pace. It's got this wonderful first probably 2 acts, and then it starts to maybe unravel a little bit. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah.
But because I'd prefer to focus on the good things
Yeah, me
that we
too.
have.
Yeah.
But you're right. It just has this beautiful build. And when it's in the psychological thriller genre, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
It fails, I think, when it tries to tie the loose ends and make an actual plot storyline out of it and get a few of the ghouly thrills in as well.
Yeah.
But look, through all that, it was still enjoyable, I suppose.
Yeah.
If not a little ridiculous at times.
I found elements of it quite scary when it starts to delve into that horror end of it towards the end. I thought the ghosts, men with no faces, at times that was a really scary thing. Like it was successful what they were doing, but then it starts to get there's too much of it. You see too much of them.
Yeah,
they're everywhere all of a sudden, and they almost become a little comic at a certain point because they're just everywhere. I stopped being really scared of them at that point. And also I think, there's only so much tension you can hold when everywhere your main character's running, there's ghosts and things popping up out of every seam and dark corner and all of that. So
yeah,
I think it just went a bit long, that section. Maybe if it was a little more condensed and a little more just like, let's just keep the best bits of what could happen in this sequence, then maybe it would have been a bit more successful.
When it was successful, I think it was an editing triumph. Scenes like when she wakes from a dream, goes to the bathroom, tries to recover herself, opens a door, thinks, oh, okay, I'm just dreaming this, closes it again, then opens it again and they're all there again.
Yes.
That was great. That was sort of early in the transition to horror.
I agree.
And then as it got deeper into horror and trying to tie loose ends, it fell away.
You know what I did love in this sequence is that there were some really great dreams within dream moments, which is a little bit like what you're talking about there.
Well, I can't remember multiple. I can remember one. But what do you think?
There were a couple. And one of the reasons they really stood out to me is that on the film that I'm working on, Locked In, we have been figuring out a couple dream within dream sequences. Yeah. And midway through that, I've gone and seen this film and just gone, oh, well, that's how you do it. That's beautiful. Like, it's just done it so well,
I can only think of one. You're going all Inception now, aren't you? When you're in some other world, then you wake from it.
Yeah, you wake up.
And then all of a sudden, oh, hang on, you got to wake from that as well. There's so many layers.
Yes. Yeah.
But there was one when she's in some nightmare, wakes up, and then is confronted with the nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that maneuver is, it can be horribly done, but I think it was done really well in this. And so it was like for me, it was a little moment of like, okay, just take note of that. That's well done.
It was so well done. And the reason why it was well done was because they didn't dwell on it or over-explain it. It was like this little almost Easter egg. It was only a few frames, the one I'm thinking of, inserted. And it just gives you a bit of a thrill. Other parts of the second half of the film, weren't so subtle. And they explain too much and drag too much.
I agree. I know we normally talk about remind me ofs at the end, but sometimes we put them in the middle.
Well, maybe we're getting to the end. We probably should get to the end. Yeah.
So,
let's get into them.
I will just mention that this film, in terms of the whole arc of it and the type of film it is, and these reveals at the end, which I think is what we're talking about mostly, really, really reminded me of Vertigo. And that's the one, and so now I can tell it's not what you were thinking.
Is this the one that... I was not thinking of Vertigo, so great, I love it.
Okay, good.
Tell me, talk to me.
It just made me think of Vertigo a lot because, for one, the whole thing felt Hitchcockian, the whole film. It had elements of that throughout it all. You've got the mysterious blonde woman who's like you're discovering her backstory through, and following her as you see her go through a thriller situation where, she'll meet her demise in the end. There's that.
You're exciting me here. It's less Hitchcockian and
Yeah.
more De Palmerian.
All right.
Because I think Brian De Palma is a student of Hitchcock.
Yes.
So it's almost like a more modern day Hitchcock.
Yes.
But yes, I agree.
Yeah. I think with Vertigo, you've got that alternate sort of personality that is coming back out. It's almost like a fated reliving of someone else's past that's gone horribly wrong. So it has all those elements. Hitchcock's version of that or take of that in Vertigo is so contained in some ways and it's so controlled. Whereas this towards the end feels like it sort of gets a bit too expansive, just goes a bit too crazy.
No, that's beautiful. I hadn't thought of Hitchcock at all. So that's
which is unusual because you are normally the Hitchcock
I'm the
guy.
Hitchcock guy.
Yes, normally.
I am the Hitchcock guy, correct. I'm glad you know.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I'm the Hitchcock guy.
Or Kubrick.
Hitchcock, Kubrick, Lynch.
That's right.
They're the only ones I know. Bad Boys for Life, Michael Bay, that's your territory.
Right.
It's funny you say that sort of identity type of thing. I thought the high point of the film for me was when the sketch she did with the pink dress and the blonde hair, and I think, what's his name? De-aged Don Cheadle. It's John.
Yes.
Yep. Probably my favourite character in the film. I think it was him that interpreted that sketch as a self-portrait.
Yeah.
And that starts making you think, oh, wow. So what is the relationship between her and Sandy? And I love that ambiguity and trying to work out, okay, what does this all mean?
Yeah.
And I felt that was the high point when all of that is still mysterious.
Yes, I agree.
And then from there on, got less mysterious, got more like just tying it up.
Yeah.
And not tying it up in a very mysterious way.
At one point of the movie, Alex, she looked pregnant. And I thought that,
Oh, wow.
that Louise, she was
Eloise.
her daughter. Eloise, she was her daughter.
Ah.
That is all the ambiguity. that
Yeah.
we're talking about. What is the relationship between this blonde girl and Eloise? And at one point, really, I thought that she was her daughter.
Did you think of her as the same person at any stage?
No, but there was a mother-daughter relationship, which is the other part that's still a bit of a mystery for me. What is the relationship with the real mother?
They never talk about that, do they?
No.
Not really.
Well, they throw it away a little bit, don't
Yeah.
they? They just sort of introduce the mother figure as a...
It's quiet. Not probably went crazy, but always quiet under that mirror.
I agree. Yeah. That never really pays off. I mean, they have her at the end just sort of smiling. Like, hey, you've done good, girl.
It never really pays off.
Yeah.
That's such an important line because
Yeah.
so many little things that are thrown out there. Like I think of that record player moment that I mentioned.
Yes.
Where that felt like a moment
Mm.
that was going to mean something.
Yeah.
And the mum felt like she was going to mean something. Terence Stamp felt like he was going to mean something.
Yeah.
Even Jocasta, the mate, the mean girl,
Yeah. She never really comes back around, does she?
plays her part, but not any way that you'd remember.
This is interesting, isn't it? Because what people tell you over and over again is that every element of your script has to be important. If it's not doing something to move the story forward in a really important way, it should be cut. And then sometimes you find if you have a really lean script that actually is like really just focused on a couple characters, then people say, well, there's not enough characters in this world.
It needs more.
We need some more characters in this world. It's feels too like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But then they can't just be added in. You know what I mean? Like they have to be at the same time still very integral to the story.
Yeah.
And I think maybe sometimes when you get a really complicated story like this one is, it's hard to pay everything off. That's maybe just a sign of how hard this is. You know?
I think that's a filmmaker's response, and it's one worth dwelling on because imagine you've got that script to work with, and you've got Jocasta, who is the mean girlfriend, and you're trying to develop and resolve her in a way that is palatable and enjoyable. when you've got so many other things to think about,
Right.
and then you got to worry about Jocasta.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
you're really just trying to build towards this big crazy ending where,
Yeah.
the house is going to go on fire and the ghosts are going to be everywhere and there's going to be blood all over the walls and, a poisoning that goes wrong and stabbings and...
There's a lot in there.
There's a lot.
Like, this is a rollicking tale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so credit
Yeah.
where credit's due.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah.
She had the opportunity to save the photo with her mom.
And she
and
didn't. She didn't take it.
She didn't take it. And that's something also got my attention.
She's letting her mum go. That's what
Yeah.
that's supposed to be
Yeah.
meant to mean, right?
Yeah, that surprised me too. I think it was meant to be seen as a positive thing, wasn't it? Like her growing up.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought it was actually also a little bit callous.
Yeah.
But
It seems like that's how you're taking it as well.
I feel it was meant to be a positive moment.
Yeah. Yeah, good call.
What did you think of the film overall, Sal? Like,
I did like it. I enjoyed it. a
You
lot.
did enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Did it feel Hitchcockian to you?
No.
No. Okay,
no,
good.
no.
It's just me.
Maybe weird connection, but the pace reminded me of Moulin Rouge.
Oh,
Moulin
yeah.
Rouge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pace was so quick.
Oh, yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, the way that film's cut together
Yeah.
with the music and
Yeah.
everything. I can see that.
I don't like those films.
Baz Luhrmann.
Baz Luhrmann, I respect him because there's so much involved in them. So like I couldn't say a bad word about him as a filmmaker. He's great, but it's just
Yeah.
not my
Not
my style. But
Yeah.
you're right. The pace, the way you can have so much happening and
Yeah.
move it along is wonderful.
What do you think of the end credits and the empty streets of London?
Ooh, can I flip that and just before we talk about the end credits, because I can't really remember the end credits because the first time I was drunk, remember? But Soho as a location,
Yeah.
I think is inspired. Have you been to Soho?
No.
Have you, Sal?
Yeah.
I've only been there on a Sunday morning after, I think it gets crazy on Saturday night. I was there Sunday morning and it felt like a film set. I felt like I was in Vanilla Sky, when Tom Cruise is running
Yeah.
down the street.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
So it was all empty and it felt like a film set. And it's such a great location to film. But what's the end credits, Maestro?
It's just basically while you see the credits and then it cut to empty streets.
I can vaguely remember that. I saw it a week ago and I feel like I wish I'd seen it last night like you.
Well, I saw it
Yeah.
a week ago as well.
Yeah.
But that one's erased from my
Yeah.
memory.
And my impression is that it's like it's not empty. There are all the ghosts still around.
Are they empty 2020 streets or are they
It's
empty
COVID.
1960s
But
streets?
It turned out it's COVID.
Let's say 2020 COVID empty streets.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bit sad.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's Sunday morning in Soho.
Yeah.
As I said,
Wow.
empty streets. I get a bit of a similar feeling in Melbourne here. I live near Brunswick Street and Smith Street and Fitzroy, and that's how it feels on Sunday. Everyone's hungover and that they don't come out until about 11 o'clock.
I guess that's on theme with last night in Soho. Like you get a sense of the
Yeah.
film is the night and that's the next morning and she's come out of the dream.
That's true.
So there is that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I have one more reminds me of. Or
One more,
reference.
but hang on, we haven't even got to that segment
Well,
of the show.
I've been throwing mine in, just sneaky throwing them in.
Well,
while
I'm
we've been
sorry. I
going.
think I need to go first because I've got 3 or 4.
Okay, great.
So
Then you should go first.
I'm going to go first. I'm going to start with Cruella, which has also been an episode of ours.
Yes.
That's not one of yours?
No.
Good. A young woman who's lost her mum,
Yes.
dreams to be a designer.
Yes.
She's a bit of a design prodigy. The film leans on a retro soundtrack.
Yes. Big time.
The main character gets a transformative haircut. She shops at a vintage store.
That's
She
great.
survives a house fire at the end.
Yeah.
And there's a
Wow.
character that starts good and ends bad. So Cruella.
Incredible. Yes. Starts good, ends bad. Also discovers herself through the film.
Discovers herself, correct.
Yes. Wow, that's it. That's a great one.
So I'll stop there. We don't need
You've
to.
won the award for this episode of The Best Reminds Me of.
I might win the top 3 because I've got
Great.
some other good ones, I think.
Great.
So why don't you go with
Yeah.
the one that I'm sure will also be on my list?
No, I don't think it will be because it's actually a really specific short story.
Oh, okay.
And I've spoken about Roald Dahl's adult short stories before.
You and bloody Roald Dahl.
I know. But there's one of his short stories
Yep.
that reminded me so much of the end of this film. And I actually adapted it or just sort of borrowed from it to make a short film, my very first short film.
Wow, okay.
And it's about a young man who goes to Bath in the UK.
Yep, Austen country.
Oh, Austen country?
Yeah, Jane Austen.
Oh, right, Austen country. Right, okay, yeah.
Set at least one of her novels
Really?
in Bath.
Okay,
That's
cool.
the only way I know it.
Great. And he ends up spending the night in a little bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
And it's a dodgy looking, it's a sort of uncomfortable looking place. Like it's very old school. And there's a lot of stuffed animals and creatures around there, lots of taxidermied things. And it just happens to be that the old lady that runs this place likes to poison her guests with tea, with arsenic in them.
Yeah.
And he comments on the slight almond taste of his tea just before he starts looking around the room and realizing just how many stuffed creatures there are. And then she starts talking while he's still looking around. She starts talking about the previous guests and how they're all still here. And so you realize he's going to get it, and that tea's poisoned. And just the end of this and that whole reveal with the old landlady, who turns out to be the alter ego, and massive spoiler alert here, but she's Sandy, and she's decided to poison her at the end of the film. And the way they had the conversation while she's being poisoned was great.
So the old lady villain routine
is
what you're reminded of.
Yeah.
What did you think of that ending? Like, there was one bit that spoiled it for me a little bit that was very much explaining the joke before it happened. It was when Eloise is rifling through the mail and you see the name Alexandra Collins, I think, on one of the envelopes.
Yeah.
And we know very well that Anya Taylor-Joy's real name is Alexandra.
Yeah.
So it kind of...
That's when I realised, for sure.
Yeah, but exactly. And I think that's when all the audience would realise.
Yeah.
But it felt premature. It felt like we're realising before the reveal.
Yeah, like you want it to happen during the tea sequence.
During the tea sequence. But
that's when you want the ball to drop.
Yes, but we all knew before it was revealed.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that was meant to be like a subtle thing for people who go back a second watch and say, oh, okay, it was revealed. But it was too obvious for me.
Yeah, it was signposted too much. It was just for too long that they dwelt on that, like that letter.
Yeah. Anyway, bit contrived, but again, we love it.
Yes. Yeah.
Good reference,
Great.
Baron.
Great. Back to you.
Back to me. I'm going to say, and this is probably my main one, Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
So I think the vibe that
Lynch,
Edgar Wright was going for was something like Mulholland Drive.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
You've got a young woman, a bit like Cruella, a young woman wanting to be a star with stars in her eyes, and also that sense of the identity crisis and who is she and does she have an alter ego and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that is very reminiscent of Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
And very specifically, one of the standout scenes in both films is the audition scene. So in this one, you got when Anya Taylor-Joy she sings, and when we realised that she can sing as an actor, that was quite a spellbinding scene, and it really captures you. However, I think in Mulholland Drive, the best scene is when Naomi Watts is in an audition, and I feel like Edgar Wright's trying to mimic that a little bit.
Okay.
And I just felt that the Naomi Watts scene is so wonderful that even though I liked the Edgar Wright one, it failed in comparison.
Interesting. I never thought about, it didn't pop into my head while I was watching it. And I think I enjoyed it in this film. But now that you mentioned that, I almost want to go back and watch Mulholland Drive again and just see how it sits next to it.
Well, I think it sits very well, but
Yeah.
I think the difference is Mulholland Drive, like any of the Lynch stuff, is always open-ended
Yes.
and never reveals anything, always lets you go away and have to keep working it out. Whereas this one goes a different direction and tries to tie it all up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's its undoing, that it tries to tie it up, but that's actually undoes the whole film.
Yeah, which is interesting. That's what I was saying earlier a little bit about these directors that have clearly grown up watching Hollywood films. They're very influenced by it. They bring their own style and feed it back into new Hollywood films, which have a twist to them and are really interesting. But I wonder if, that need to tie it up that way is a little bit of, that's the Hollywood thing that can't be escaped. Whereas a guy like Lynch has just never given a shit about that at all. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not something he cares about.
Yeah, but you got to think. I think up until halfway,
Yeah.
Edgar Wright had the Lynchian sort of vibe, and it's then just a choice. Do you try and tie it up or don't you?
Yeah.
If Lynch tried to tie up everything he puts out there,
No, it wouldn't
maybe he'd be crappy.
Yeah. No. It
So I
That's
still
right.
respect him for trying to
Yeah.
make it accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
You got anything else for me?
No. I've already put my stuff into throughout it. Like, I've got nothing left.
I think Roald Dahl counts for 2.
I'm tapped out.
That was a good one.
Well, the Vertigo was my main one. That was the one that I thought, this is my, this one works. This is the one.
Well, no, I think they both counted for 2. So let's say you've got 4. So I've got 2 quickies left.
Maybe Sal will throw one in for me, just as like a back me up.
Sal, did you have any?
No. I don't really say it now.
Yeah, cool.
I've got a couple I think they're good ones, but I won't dwell on them. One is a 1990s British sitcom series called Goodnight Sweetheart. Have you heard of that?
No.
No.
I don't think so, no.
I had to look it up because I vaguely remembered that the premise is that this bloke, he's in the 90s and he walks into a pub
Yeah.
and the pub is in the 1940s.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and the vibe of it is sort of more like the World's End pub, or Hot Fuzz and that sort of vibe. It's sort of comic, time traveling into an old pub. The series feels a little bit Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, but the theme of going back in time, especially going back in time in a night spot, like in a pub, which is kind of what happens, is very similar. So it just kind of triggered me, and it's thematically very, very similar.
I'm sure there's been some Twilight Zone episodes that are along that vein.
And the last bonus one is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, gee, ooh, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Maybe that should have been my first.
Wow, okay. Explain to me how you came to that. I've got some ideas, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, the main idea is the dream reality stuff. So in Nightmare on Elm Street, it's all about, your nightmares. Don't go to sleep because you don't know what's going to bloody happen. And that's where Thomasin ends up.
That's where she ends up.
She does not want to go to sleep because she doesn't want to interact with these people. So that's the obvious link. And I think there was one moment later in the film that suggested to me that was an actual influence. And that was when Thomasin's going up the stairs being chased by the old woman.
Yes.
And the stairs are turning into glass or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That kind of seemed to play on a scene I remember from Nightmare on Elm Street where the feet are sinking into the...
It's a very Freddy Krueger-y type thing where the world around you starts to play against you as well.
Yes.
I guess that's just dreams, isn't it? But particularly done in Nightmare on Elm Street films. Yeah, I could totally see that being a reference.
I think
it was such an influential series, particularly the first film.
That was massive in the day. When was that? Like 80s?
Must have been. Yeah, it must have been
80s, maybe spilling into the 90s.
Yeah, I saw one. I think the first Freddy Krueger film, Nightmare on Elm Street, when I was very young, and I saw them all after that, and it really, really influenced me. There was something. It was just such a cool concept, I think, more than anything. This idea that you can't fall asleep because when you do, he's going to come and get you, and there's very little you can do except for try and keep yourself awake. It's just a cool idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
and they milked it.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
And Johnny Depp was in there.
he was.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. First one, yeah.
Did he get pulled into the bed or the ceiling? He's in the first one.
Oh, geez, that's a long time ago. I don't know.
I feel like he got sucked into the bed and then blood gushed up out of the bed and onto the ceiling, or it was the other way around.
I'm going to bet on pulled into the bed,
Okay, great.
and we'll maybe watch that and see
Yes.
if we're right.
Yeah. Now there was a TV show, and this is what confused me because I saw all of those as well. There was one episode or a film where these people get stuck in a time loop where they're trying to drive someplace and they just can't ever get there. The road just goes, they just keep looping back to the beginning. And meanwhile, or somewhere else in there, there's a guy doing bench press exercises, and then he must have fallen asleep while he was doing it or something, which makes no sense. And suddenly Freddy Krueger appears above him and he's pushing the weights down and his elbows explode out the sides. Do you remember that?
Freddy Krueger is the worst spotter
He's the worst.
could ever imagine. I always worry, not that I'm lifting weights very often, but I know what it's like to lift weights. And you've got the spotter, and part of your brain is always thinking, I'm really relying on this guy to make sure this doesn't all go horribly
You're sizing
wrong.
him up. How reliable and strong is this person?
How reliable is he? And then all of a sudden it's Freddy Krueger there, and you've got the am I awake factor in there.
That's
wow,
great.
that's terrifying.
I love it. Well, Doc, anything else?
No, also terrifying is that it's the end of the episode. I think we've
done
made
this.
a dent in it,
Yeah.
both in our glasses and in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it despite some flaws. I think you did too.
Yeah, I loved it. I actually really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to other people as well. And I wouldn't even mention that I thought there was an issue with the end to them. If I did, I'd just say, go see it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, agree. Sal, same from you?
Yeah.
I think that's 3 big thumbs up.
Yeah.
With some fine print, but let's forget that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll see you, Baron.
See you, folks.
See you, Maestro.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.
All right.
Oh, that's going to take some cutting.